Hi friends, welcome to Harmony Hills Home and Garden. I'm Jenny and we live and garden here in Baltimore, Maryland, Zone 7. Today is a gorgeous day in the middle of February. I think we're at about 55 degrees right now, headed towards the low 60s before the afternoon is over. What a gorgeous day. I'm taking advantage of the day today to do some things outside, including the purpose of this video is to do some brainstorming and maybe some sketching out of ideas for foundational shrubs, maybe small trees that will go along this north side of our front yard this season. So come with me and let's figure out what we might do in this garden this year. You may remember that last fall we started a lasagna garden in this area here, piling up shredded leaves and green material from the lawn mowing to make a new composted area, new flower beds, new shrub border for this area. And you can see that we've got thousands of wild onions coming up through the cardboard and through the material that we laid down last year. So this is going to be a problem in terms of how it looks, but it's not going to be a problem in terms of what we can plant here. Wild onions are in our garden everywhere, especially under the mature trees that we have. I think the birds sit in the trees and drop the seeds down into our garden, and we just have them everywhere. And so we're just dealing with it. But anyway, we also last year we put in these 3 skip laurel shrubs. They were small containers, but they're doing really well. I guess this one had just the tiniest little bit of cold damage from the winter. But I don't see much else bad going on. I see some new leaves coming on, so I think these have made it through the winter really well. And then back on that side, we put in some viburnums, and I forget the varieties exactly, but there's 4 viburnums back in there. And the idea is we want to continue with this shrub border all along and up into the front foundation flower bed area in a gentle curve that goes this way. Toward the backyard area, as we go along the front yard, the side of the front yard, toward the backyard area, we haven't finished creating the lasagna gardens here. I think we're probably going to, at this point, we're going to end up just skimming off the sod and laying down compost that we have to bring in because we didn't end up with enough garden material to layer more leaves on here. This is Eastern Snowball Viburnum. And my goal on this one, just like the one in the backyard, my goal on this one is to let it grow up into a big 15 by 15 or even 20 by 20 small tree, and then limb it up so that the trunks are showing and it'll be a beautiful flowering shrub in the tall part. And I have the same plan for the Korean spice viburnum that's closer up to the white fence up there. This is a skip laurel that we transplanted last year in an effort to save it, but I think it didn't survive well enough, and I'm just not interested in having an ugly looking shrub that I try to nurse along. I'm going to take this out. This is a wine and roses weigela that we just planted last year, and so it's going to have beautiful pink blossoms on it, and I think it's a red. Is it a red foliage? No. Well, it's kind of a dark greenish red purplish foliage, so it'll add a darker foliage color with the pink blossoms on it. And then this one is a Rose of Sharon. This variety name is Sugar Tip, and it's a variegated foliage with a beautiful soft pink flowers on it. And that is all we have in terms of the foundation along this area so far. Now look at these stumpy yew stumps over there belong to our next door neighbor. They've told us that they're planning to take those out this year and replace them with something else. They've been here for a couple of years, and you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you get a great borrowed view, and sometimes you get a less great borrowed view. So I'm going to try to design a foundation planting along here that will look good, whether they replace those with something evergreen and hedgy, or whether they do something completely different. I don't know. I don't want to have to depend on my next door neighbor to make my yard look as nice as it can. So. All right, so that's what's here. My next step is to take photographs of the area that I want to be designing and take those inside, print them out, and then I'll be able to use those photographs to make sketches on and just come up with a bunch of different ideas. I find it really useful to use a tripod to take photographs when I'm trying to do kind of a panoramic photograph situation. So I can either put my phone on pano. Let me do that. Oh, you know what? It doesn't want to do pano on the side. I wonder if it'll let me. Okay, it's not going to let me do a panoramic shot in landscape mode. So let me just put it in regular photo mode. And I'm just going to use my tripod to turn the camera head around, and I'm going to get as much of the area in a photo as I can, but then I'm going to take multiple photos so that I can overlap them after I print them out. So I have photos now that go actually further than the area I'm thinking of designing, but that'll give me an opportunity to see what's in the surrounding area as well and how the new design will fit into all of that. Great, so now all we have to do is go inside, print these photos out, and then I'll have something with which I can make a new design. Let me just start off with a proviso. Not an expert, not a garden designer, no design training, just a lot of years of experience and a lot of ideas. So I've taken the pictures outside of the north side of our front yard, and I am now going to take those pictures and tape them together so that it makes a nice panoramic view of the garden. I printed them out just on regular white printer paper. I'm going to find the center one. There we go. So this is a panoramic shot of my front yard, give or take. The edges are a little wonky, but they're pretty good, and I'm going to say they're good enough. So now I can see this is the area that I really want to concentrate on, from this tree to this pathway right here that goes into our neighbor's yard. However, I do care what these wings look like so that it looks cohesive and doesn't look out of place, whatever I put in here. I don't want it to just end here and here. So that's why I care about having the wider view available to me. All right, so now I could just start drawing on this paper with a pencil, or even, wild and crazy, with a pen or a marker, just to get ideas flowing. However, I don't like the idea of printing this out a lot of times and messing up my one picture. So what I like to do is print out my main picture, and then I get some tracing paper and lay it on top. And then I have lots of pieces of tracing paper. I can swap out new ideas and so forth, but I don't have to reprint the picture all the time. There we go. So now as I'm drawing, I'll be able to lift it up and put it back down, and just to get an idea of a real sense of what is there. Okay, so now that I have my tracing paper on top of my photograph, the next thing I like to do is to draw in the major big things that are staying for sure. So for example, this tree is staying. And so I'll draw this tree in here. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just enough to get a sense of what we have going on there. So if I were to take away the photograph and just look at the sketch that I drew, I mean, it's not professional, it's just tracing. You can do this. Definitely you can do this. Just get yourself some tracing paper. Okay, so that is the blank slate. I have some plants that I've put in here and I'm going to definitely be keeping. And it's really hard to see on this photograph, but one of them is right here. That is the Rose of Sharon. That is the Sugar Tip Rose of Sharon right here. I also have a Weigela right here. And right here is an Eastern Snowball Viburnum. And then over here, of course, you have the 3 skip laurels. And then behind the tree, you can't really see it because of the way the tree is situated. There are 4 viburnums back there, but you're not going to be able to see those from here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and draw those in as permanent. Nothing's permanent, but you know, they're already planted there and I want to keep them. So I'm going to go ahead and draw them in using a different color because I know they've already been decided to stay there. Where's my green? Here we go. All right, start with the skip laurels. They're currently here. It's not entirely accurate. It doesn't, it's like right there in the flower bed. It doesn't come all the way up this front here. Okay, we also have the Sugar Tip Rose of Sharon, and it's a pretty light gray variegated foliage, so I'm actually going to draw it using this light green pencil right there. I have this Weigela, which is going to be kind of burgundy foliage, and it's vase shaped, more fountain shaped, so I'm going to go ahead and draw that in as a fountain shaped leaf limb structure with leaves on it that are burgundy and green. Okay, and now this Eastern Snowball Viburnum, right now it's small, so I'll go ahead and draw it small, but I'm going to be limbing it up, and it will grow up into a nice small tree. I don't know how long it's going to take to do that, 5, 7, 10 years, I don't know. Okay, these are the permanent things that are in there so far. I do have a skip laurel over here that I was trying to salvage from the side yard, and I transplanted it here last year. It's coming out. It didn't do well, and it's just going to come out. Okay, so now I need to be thinking about, what do I want this side yard to look like? What kind of structure do I want it to have in the winter? And this is a great time to do this kind of planning because there's no leaves on any of the deciduous shrubs or trees. So thinking about what it looks like in the winter right now and what I want it to look like in the future. So I'm going to draw these limbs on these shrubs that are only sticks right now. And I'm going to just remember that those are deciduous. Okay, this is deciduous. This is deciduous. These are the evergreens. The skip laurels are evergreen, but everything else is deciduous so far. So I know I want to have a few different types of plant shapes in here to have a nice pleasing arrangement across this border. I want to have some pyramid shapes. So, you know, like upside down ice cream cones, or those could be rounded as well, like that. I want to have some ball shaped things that go all the way down to the ground. I want to have some like limbed up ball shapes that have limbs showing down to the ground, but then they have a canopy. I want to have some things that have a vase shape or fountain shape that have foliage on them, but they're made up of many, many kind of long, slender leaves. So this would be vase or fountain. Small trees, balls, pyramid. What other kinds of shapes might you have? I suppose you could have different sizes of balls, right? You could have different sizes of pyramids. You can have low growers that are more like small, like a juniper would be a low shrub or ground cover. You could have pure bedding or ground cover. What other shapes could we have in this garden? We could have hedges that are mostly rectangular, with or without their trunks showing down on the bottom. And of course, we can put all of these shapes together into any combination. We could have rows and rows of pyramids, we could have rows and rows of balls, etc. Or we can mix and match and have a nice pleasing arrangement of different shapes beside each other. And honestly, that's the method I want. I do want to have some rhythm and repetition that you get from bringing in the same shape at different intervals down along this border. But I don't want to have a whole hedge of any one plant, evergreen or anything else. I want to have a variety. One, because I like it and I want it. Two, because I don't want a monoculture. What if you put in a whole hedge of something and then one of them dies? That's a problem. And I just like the variety of the idea of a mixed border, a mixed shrub border that has some evergreen and some deciduous and also a variety of shapes. So I guess the first place I'll start is I do want some pyramid shaped evergreens in this area. So I know that. So how do I want them to go? And how big do I want them to be? If I haven't talked about scale at all, but if I look at this picture, I know that, say, these skip laurels are roughly 2 feet wide right now. 2 feet? No, they're probably 3 feet wide. So that means that this length is about 3 feet. I could take my tape measure out there and get to know this for sure. I haven't done that yet. Now I'm going to start to sketch some things in that I want in the long run, in the future. Once things are, 5 to 10 years from now, what do I want it to look like? So for example, these skip laurels are going to grow taller. They're currently about 3 feet tall. They will grow, I think they'll get to be 10 to 15 feet tall. I'm not exactly sure. I'm probably going to keep them around 8 feet tall. So if they're 3 now, this would be 8, and they can get as wide or as thin as you want. And they will eventually, they'll grow together about like that. There will be room in front of them right here to plant in, but in the future, they'll be about this tall. Okay, so the other thing to keep in mind, I have black walnut trees. This is a black walnut tree right over here. So I'm going to actually color that in black because 1 is a black walnut and 2, it kills my plants a lot of the time. Ugh, so frustrating, this black walnut. So I have to worry about plants that can survive near a black walnut tree. So I know that skip laurels don't do well near black walnut. So one idea would be to copy this skip laurel grouping kind of over here for repetition, but I know that skip laurels don't do well near the black walnut, so I'm not going to do that. So let me pick out another kind of evergreen situation and see what I might want to do. So if I'm just going to draw an idea here. All right, so I've drawn in 4 pyramid-shaped Holly. I have in my mind I might want to put out some either dragon lady hollies or some other type of holly that's evergreen, that is berry producing, and that will be interesting to look at as a repeated feature down this side border. Now, what I don't know is, I know last year I bought some dragon lady hollies that started out about 4 feet tall, and I know they get to be at least 6 or 8 feet tall, but what I don't know is what's the mature height of a dragon lady holly. So I'm going to look that up. I'm getting in the weeds here with plant selection, but how big does a dragon lady holly get? 10 to 20 feet tall and 4 to 6 feet wide. So that is an excellent size and shape for this area. So if this is 3 feet, then 6 feet would be like that. So in the future, they would be roughly, what did I say, 10 to 20. So in the future, they would be nice, tall, repeated accents down this border. So I like that already. That is speaking to me very well. Now I've got my pyramids in place, and these are going to be sort of large hedges, these skip laurels. So now I want to put in some small tree shapes, some balls, some vase, and some low shrubs. So first of all, I know that this eastern snowball viburnum, I am definitely going to be pruning that into a small tree. So now I'm going to rough in its future size and shape. So that is the idea for what this is eventually going to be. Again, in 5 or 10 years, it'll look approximately like that. So there is a small tree shape already. Also, I know that outside this picture, but over toward this area, in this area, I have a serviceberry. So that'll be another small tree shape. And then here I have a Korean spice viburnum, and that'll be another small tree shape. So I might already have enough small tree shapes in this area with these two over here and this one here. So maybe I'm done with the small trees. Let's think about more vase or fountain shapes. Maybe I want to put in so here's one. This is the Weigela. Maybe I want to put a repetition of this Weigela down here. Would that be nice? We could put, what it brings is some red foliage as well, and bright spring color. So we could either do a grouping of them here. That might be nice. Or we could kind of spread them out and dot them down the landscape. I kind of like the idea of grouping them though. So let's consider that. We would put another Weigela here and another one here, kind of in the front. Make a little trio of them. I wonder how that would look. And then I would like something behind this sugar tip to kind of back it up and be something pretty behind it, something evergreen. So what if I were to put some Burford hollies that I allow to stay in kind of a bushy form back behind here. Burford hollies. Or some other kind of evergreen shrub. Doesn't have to be holly, since this might be a holly also. I'm really mainly focusing on shapes right now, so I want something evergreen behind the sugar tip so that when that light grayish green and cream colored variegation on the sugar tip is out and the light pink flowers on it are out, that has a nice dark green background upon which we can see it. So I think I do want to have some sort of greenery, evergreen, dark, even glossy would be nice, behind this sugar tip. Okay. And that would kind of, depending on what I get, it would kind of mirror and mimic what's happening with these skip laurels over here. So that's a nice balance. So maybe we would think of something that can get tall there as well. Okay. I feel like we could have some small balls that are evergreen. We have these soft touch hollies that come around across the front. We could continue those along here. Put another one right here, and another one right here, and another one right here. And just keep putting those in the front of the border as we go down and around. That might be a nice continuation all the way from across the front of the house. Okay. How are we doing for evergreen interest so far? This is not evergreen. These are, these are, these are, these are. So, how's it looking? I really like the repetition that these pyramid-shaped evergreens will give us. Now this doesn't have to be a dragon lady holly. This could be some sort of juniper. Probably won't be arborvitae unless I can find an arborvitae that stays smallish, 6 to 8 feet wide at the base, 10 to 15 to 20 feet tall at the max, but is deer resistant. I know the green giants are deer resistant, but the green giants get to be 60 feet tall or more, and I don't want those here. So if you know of an arborvitae that is deer resistant, let me know, besides the green giant. But junipers might work, or hollies, or I don't know what else is pyramid shaped that's evergreen. Let me know. Okay, I think this is coming along really nicely. I'm actually going to remove the background now because it's getting in my way of imagination. Okay, another thing that I like the idea of is having some ball-shaped things next to each other in a kind of a collection of sizes. Linda Votter does this really well in her garden. She's got a lot of boxwoods, and they all are varying sizes and shapes of spheres, and it's a really interesting look. So I think I want to sprinkle in some more ball-shaped things next to some of these smaller ones. Alright, and then maybe this is a good place for some sort of low shrub, maybe something that's a brighter green. Right here. A low grower that doesn't get very tall but gets wide. And then we could do that again. Over here. So at this point, I have some winter interest going on with these 4 repeated pyramid shapes. These evergreen shrubs here, these evergreen shrubs here, and then the connection of these balls all the way across there at regular intervals. I also am imagining some sort of evergreen low thing, maybe a juniper, or maybe wintergreen, or I don't know, something low. And then the rest of these are deciduous. The sugar tip is deciduous, these 3 weigelas, and oh, maybe these balls are evergreen. So if I stop here in the winter, that would be a nice beginning to winter interest and structure. So, okay, so that's a great beginning of a first draft, a rough draft. And I'm going to set this one aside and I'm going to start again. And I'm going to do another draft and see what I can come up with for a second draft, because I don't ever like to go with just my first draft without thinking of more ideas beyond that. there's another option. So that's option B. So now we have option A and option B. And of course, we can think of more options beyond that. The sky's the limit. You're just drawing shapes at this point. Try not to get too deep into plant selection, although I already have, so I'm not even following my best advice. But just trying to draw shapes to come up with a plan for how I might want it to look in 5 or 10 years. So yeah, I think I've hit a point now where I just need to come up with more ideas. I'm going to go online. I'm going to be looking at Pinterest. I'll be searching out some of my favorite garden designers and see what their portfolios look like. I could all go on house.com or any other number of websites that you can find images of shrub borders that might be interesting to look at. Also, pictures that I've taken at gardens that I've visited, things like that. That's kind of where I am on this project. I am in the inspiration, what direction do I want to go phase. So thanks so much for joining me. If you have ideas for me, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to take advantage of your ideas because I'm hitting a little bit of a block. I'm not sure how to proceed here. So again, keeping in mind, this is under a big black cherry tree. It's next to black walnuts, so I have to worry about both of those things. It's on the north side of the front yard, so it gets kind of moving sun as the sun comes from east to west across here. And I want to have a shrub border. I will be planting perennials in and amongst them after the shrubs are in, but primarily I'd like to have winter interest and privacy, or at least the beginnings of privacy. So those are my criteria. So if you have thoughts for me, please let me know. I'd love to have your ideas. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll join me again in the next video, whenever that may be. I'll see you again soon, friends. Have a good day. Bye.